Hey, what is going on, everybody? How are you all doing today? I hope you all are having a wonderful and fantastic day today, and if not, hopefully you all will have a better tomorrow. So, today is the monthly Q&A. Once a month, I always do a Q&A, so if any of you would like to have any questions answered by me, then just let me know in the comments of this video, and it will be answered next month. So if you have any questions for me, be sure to leave them at the comment section of this video, and I will get to them next month. So, thank you very much appreciated, and let's go ahead and start with some of these questions. So first off, we're going to start with Luke Skywalker II. He has many questions to ask, so let's go ahead and answer his questions. So here's what he has to say. Hey Draco, here are my Q&A questions for the next Q&A. I hope you read them. Of course, most certainly, I read everybody's. And if I miss them, of course, I try to go back and make sure I catch them for the next Q&A. So, if the case, before I get into these questions, if I didn't read yours, I will read it next month, I promise. So just want to let everybody know so that nobody is forgotten. But anyways, so moving on to his questions. What is your favorite poem from Edgar Allan Poe? For me, it would have to be The City in the Sea. My favorite one is The Raven. I really do enjoy that one. I also enjoy Alone. I think that one is also a very good one. And I really do enjoy that one also. Moving on to the next question. What poem from any poet would you say has inspired you the most in your pursuit in being an artist, or has given you ideas for drawing characters, landscapes, etc.? I have to say that actually would go to Edgar Allan Poe, because I like the poem Alone. I think Alone really does do well when it comes to describing many things, from perspective as well as landscapes. I think that is actually a very good poem, and some of its dark themes as well I do really enjoy. So I'd have to say Alone was actually the one that really inspired me. So, moving on to the next question. Who is your favorite haiku poet? For me, it would be Matsuo Basho. My favorite haiku poet is actually Yosa Busan, but that's just me. But Matsuo Basho is actually a very good haiku poet, in my opinion. Have you written any poetry yourself? If so, then which of your poems do you think is the best and is your favorite? Well, I used to a little bit back in high school, but it wasn't very often, and when I did, it was usually very dark stuff. So, I mean, I guess that would actually be really what I could say I liked, but I can't really remember some of the names and stuff. I do have a box of some of my old work from school, like from the time of elementary through high school. So I'll probably go through there sometime and look into that and try to find the poetry I made, because I can't remember the poems. I just remember they were darker stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I'll probably go into that sometime, but yeah, I mean, I used to a little bit, but it wasn't very much. Now, in terms of whether it was good or not, yeah, I'd have to go back over it to let you know, but yeah, good question, though. Next question. Do you read much philosophy? If so, then who is your favorite philosopher? For me, it would have to be either Aristotle or Immanuel Kant. Well, I used to whenever I was a late teen. So, in my late teens I did, and then, of course, I haven't as much lately. But yeah, I used to read it a lot. I was really into Aristotle myself, so I can understand where you're coming from there. So I really did like Aristotle and his theories. His Plato theory really was something I really enjoyed. But yes, I did read a lot of it when I was younger, but yeah, not so much as of late. But I still really do enjoy it. Moving on to the next question. What is your favorite manga that has a really dark tone? I like Hellsing. Kota Hirano did an excellent job with Hellsing, and then of course, with the anime adaptation of Hellsing Ultimate, it was masterfully done. I think it is a very beautiful series. I love the art in the manga, and I love how Studio Madhouse made it come to life. I have to say that, yeah, Hellsing Ultimate was a great anime. Hellsing was just a great manga. So yes, that's the one that I really like with a dark tone. Moving on to the next question. Have you ever watched the Ghost in the Shell 1995 anime? If so, then what is your favorite moment from it? Yes, I have seen Ghost in the Shell 1995. I have also seen some of the movies. I have also watched the standalone complex. I do like Ghost in the Shell a lot. I think it is a great series. Now, favorite moment would be hard for me to say. I'm not really sure, especially considering that I haven't seen the 1995 anime in many years. So I would have to go back on that to tell you what my favorite moment was. But yes, I am a big Ghost in the Shell fan, and I really do love that series. What is your favorite fantasy manga? Rave. RWBY is my favorite fantasy manga of all time. In fact, it is probably my favorite manga ever. I love that series. If you are a fan of Fairy Tail, which was Hiro Mashima who created Fairy Tail, he also created RWBY. RWBY, Rave Master, Groove Adventure RWBY, Groove Adventure Rave Master. It goes by many names, but I recommend RWBY 100%. So if you are a fan of Fairy Tail, yes, I would definitely say go read RWBY. It was the very first manga he ever made. Fantastic series, and I love it to this very day. Anyways, moving on to the next question. Since RWBY is now going to have an American Comics run from DC Comics, what are the things that you hope to see in the RWBY comics themselves, and what do you fear most about them, and what they could introduce or change? Oh boy. What I hope is that there's good stories, good character development, and good action. That's what I hope for. Fears, I have a list of fears. Fears include, I hope that there is no bad story writing. Because I fear that the story may be written badly. I fear that politics will be thrown in there, and because the comic book industry has been suffering. It is just going down the drain. And I just hate to see that because I've always loved comics, but it's just doing bad. Its numbers are not good right now. And if there's anything I fear is that politics may try to be forced into the comics, and that's something I really hope doesn't happen. But yeah, I fear for what may happen to the RWBY comics. Now, the manga, on the other hand, the manga is excellent. I'm not afraid of what they're doing with the manga. The manga is great. I love the RWBY manga, so I have no problems or complaints there. It's just I fear with how the American comic book industry is going and how it's handled a lot of the comics. Yeah, I am afraid of what may be in store for the RWBY comics. But, I mean, I'm going to review them, and we'll see from there how well they go, but we'll just have to see. We'll just see where it goes. I just hope it goes well. Who was your favorite character from the original Blade Runner? For me, it would have to be Roy Batty. My favorite character is also Roy Batty from the original. Rutger Hauer was amazing. It's a tragedy that he passed away just recently, but here's the creepy and eerie thing about it. Ironically, his character, Roy Batty, died in the year 2019 in the movies. And guess what? He just died this year, which is 2019. That's eerie. That's very eerie to think about. But yeah, definitely Roy Batty was my favorite character as well. Rest in peace, Rutger Hauer. What is your favorite track from the original Blade Runner soundtrack? For me, it would have to be Blade Runner Blues. I agree, Blade Runner Blues is my favorite, and I also liked Farewell. I think those were the two that were the best, in my opinion, from that soundtrack. What is your favorite moment from the original Blade Runner? For me, it would have to be the Tears in the Rain scene. The feels, man. The feels. Yeah, that is probably my favorite scene. That or the intro to Blade Runner. I think those are my two favorite scenes to that movie. So, yeah. I can see why that would be your favorite too. What is your favorite moment from Blade Runner 2049? I really love the part when Kay finds Deckard in Las Vegas. Yes, I actually do enjoy that scene as well. I think it's my favorite scene in that movie because it does reintroduce Harrison Ford as Rick Deckard. I really love that scene. So, moving forward, who is your favorite character from 2049? For me, it is, unsurprisingly, Kay. I actually like Rick Deckard. He is actually my favorite character in 2049. So, he was my second favorite in the original, so, you know, kind of tells you that. Do you think that 2049 is better than the original, or do you think the other way around? Personally, I really love both, but if I were to choose one, it would have to be the original. I agree. I like the original more. I mean, I think they're both really good movies, but I like the original much more than I do 2049. But that's also because when the original Blade Runner came out, it was its own thing. You know, it was brand new. You didn't know what to expect. As opposed to 2049 being a sequel, you already knew the world itself. So I would have to say that I like the original a lot more, but that's just me. Who's your favorite homunculi from Fullmetal Alchemist? For me, it's a tie between envy or gluttony. My favorite is greed. If you watch Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, greed's development was fantastic. Now, I also did like envy, though. But yeah, greed is most definitely my favorite. Then again, my two favorite characters, my number one favorite is Roy Mustang. My second favorite is Greed. So, that's just my opinion, though. if you were put into the Full Metal Alchemist world, would you rather be a state alchemist or an automail engineer? I would have to go with a state alchemist for certain. I think that that would be a better job. Of course, there would be some times that wouldn't be so fun with all the paperwork and everything, but, you know, when you go out on certain jobs, I think it'd be more fun. But that's just me. What is your favorite part of the soundtrack from Blade Runner 2049? For me, it would have to be the seawall. Okay, so my favorite is actually Spacious Minds, but then again, I really do like Elvis Presley. So I'm an Elvis Presley fan. Also, Can't Help Falling in Love is another one I liked. So those are the ones I really enjoy personally, but that's just me. Which philosophical question that is woven into Full Metal Alchemist's narrative, both the Brotherhood anime and the manga, would you say resonates with you the most? For me, it would be the question of what makes us truly human. I do like that one. What makes us truly human is something I really do like. I like that, and I like the idea of equivalent exchange. Those are the two things that I think that are philosophical that I really enjoyed the most in that series. But then again, I love Brotherhood, and I love just the entire story itself. But those are definitely great philosophical questions for certain. Have you read any of the stories of H.P. Lovecraft? If so, then what is your favorite story from him? For me, it's Between the Tomb or Beyond the Wall of Sleep. I do like The Tomb. The Tomb is really good. I also like The Call of Cthulhu, and I do like the short story Dragon. I think they are my favorites. Although, Beyond the Wall of Sleep is actually very good. What is your favorite Lovecraftian deity from his work, or from the Cthulhu mythos as it is most commonly called? For me, it would have to be the Nyarlathotep, the Crawling Chaos. Well, hilariously enough, I actually like Cthulhu the most. But, yeah, no, the Nyarlathotep is actually really cool. The Crawling Chaos, I do like that, though. Very awesome. But, moving on to the next question. What ages exactly do you think Salem and Ozpin/Ozma are? For me, I guess maybe a little over 10,000 years old. So, we know they live for thousands of years. If I had to guess, and this is just a guess, I would say probably around 10,000 to 12,000 years old. More so leaning towards the 12,000 year, but that's just me. If Ozma and Voldemort got into a fight, who do you think would win? Voldemort, because Ozma rather, since you're talking about Ozma would be strong, but I think Voldemort would be stronger. But, I mean, I think that would be a good fight nonetheless, between the two of them. But I would have to give it more to Voldemort, but that's just me. Anyways, moving on. Have you ever watched The Walking Dead, or read the amazing and recently concluded, by the way, comics by Robert Kirkman? If so, then what are your thoughts on it? The TV show, I wasn't really into the show as much as I was the comics. I think the comics were much better than the show, especially considering that the show deviated away from the comics. But yes, I actually have read the comics. I was more into that than I was the show. But yeah, I really liked Robert Kirkman's whole idea here. I think it was excellent. I think he did an excellent job. I think that the comics were great. TV show, like I said, I couldn't get into it. But if I had to rate the comic books, yes, just a definite solid recommend for certain. Are you from any of the New England states, like Maine, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, etc.? Actually, no, I am not. What is your favorite color? For me, it would be green. My favorite colors are actually between red and black. Those are my two favorite colors. I've always liked the color red, and I've always liked the color black. It's a challenge for me to try to say which one I like more than the other. But yeah, definitely have to say red and black. I'd have to think on which one I like more than the other, but that's just me. Do you have any dogs or cats? If so, then what are their names? And are they really cute, lol? For me, I have 3 dogs, and their names are Bosley, Sabrina, and Angel. I don't currently. I used to, though. I had a dog for 15 years. He was actually a red beagle, and he was just a wonderful dog. It was insane because he was like a human. And, I mean, if you talk to him, it's like he knew what you were talking to him about. His name was Hoosier, and he was a great dog. I mean, the best dog I ever had for certain. No contest. And I had him for 15 years, from the time I was 4 years old to the time I was 19 years old. So I had him for a very long time. And fortunately, he got to live a full life. But the sad thing was, it was just so tragic when he died. I remember he went blind and deaf, but he was an amazing dog. I mean, he was always there for me through the thick and thin. He was just fantastic dog. I love him very much, and I miss him to this very day. And I haven't had an animal since, just because I loved that dog so much. He just, he was my best friend. He wasn't a pet, he was a best friend. And when he did die, I just didn't really want to have another pet because, I was like, no, he can't ever be replaced. So it was hard for me when I lost him. And, I grew up with him. So, he was a wonderful, wonderful dog. But yeah, his name was Hoosier. He lived to be 15. He was just a great dog. It was just so sad. He died on his own. So he never had to be put down or anything. He wasn't ill or anything. He just died of old age. And that was a very, very tragic day for me, I will say. He was such a wonderful dog, and he will be missed. Alright, so now going on to more questions from other people. Kennard Lang asks, for the next Q&A, will you have an OC or original semblance or weapon contest? Like in your opinion, top 10 to 15 list, with maybe special mentions for the most ridiculous or something. Oh yeah, sure. I mean, I could do that if any of you are interested. Then I would be willing to do that. I would actually love to do that for everyone, and I think that'd be a load of fun. So if all of you would love for me to do a contest like that in a video, I would certainly love to do that. So just let me know what you think down below, and yeah, we'll definitely work something out here. Not a Bizarre Jojo asks, what did you think of Neo Song One Thing? I loved it. Okay, so here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to hold off my opinion for the review, because I'm excited for that review for one, so keep an eye out for that. But secondly, I have a lot to say about that song, and I am excited to review One Thing, because that's an interesting song, and like I said, I have a lot to say about it. So when I review that song, you'll then know what I think about it. But anyways, Dan the Man asks, with Adam dead, what do you think will happen to the White Fang? So, with Adam being gone now out of the series in RWBY, thing is, I think that any potential for the White Fang that's left is either A, going to have to be told through backstories, B, they're going to have to bring back the White Fang Lieutenant if they're going to continue a White Fang story, or they're just going to drop it. Because it's either they're going to have a backstory to tell everything about it, which will include Adam, hopefully, or it will include Sienna Khan, or Gira, or all three of them, or they're going to have to bring the White Fang Lieutenant back, which I'm sure they've probably forgotten about who he is. I wouldn't doubt if the writers have forgotten. I mean, the writers have forgotten about multiple things before, so if they had forgotten about the White Fang Lieutenant, aka Bonesaw, then I wouldn't be shocked. But they did confirm he was alive, so that means that there's still a chance that he could come back, but more than likely, I doubt they remember him. So, anyways, but the White Fang had so much potential. I think with them killing Sienna Khan and not really going into her character, I mean, they killed her so soon. I mean, 5 minutes within the episode that she was introduced, she died. I mean, that's bad. That's not good at all. So, yeah, I think that they just threw everything under the bus, and I don't like that. I don't like that because there was so much potential for the White Fang, and I feel like it's gone at this point. I mean, with Adam being dead now, I think they just killed the potential for the White Fang, and there was so much they could have done. They could have kept Sienna Khan alive, they could have let her live at least till Volume 6, and then there could have been a divide between Adam and Sienna. There could have been a fight there. There could have been her perspective also of Gira. There's so many things they could have done, and I feel like they just dropped the ball, and I feel like that killed any potential for the White Fang. I feel like it just died off. I hate that because they were building it up so much in the first 3 volumes, but it fell short. And I think the writers just wrote themselves into a corner, and in that corner, that's where the White Fang plot line just died. I mean, and that sucks. I mean, it really does. I mean, the only thing they can do now is do something with it in Atlas, and I hope they do, but it's probably going to be mostly through flashbacks, and that's a shame, really. Very good question. Very good question. Next is Matthew Mikado. I hope I didn't butcher your name. I love Neo's character. You and me both. You are not the only one. I certainly agree with you. Do you think you'll ever create a video just about her involving some fan theories about her connection to Brunswick Farm and whether or not she may be redeemed and become a good guy, or if you think she is beyond hope? I've been waiting for someone to talk about her and her possible importance in Volume 7. Actually, yeah, I've been kind of thinking about some ideas involving Neo and a potential connection to Brunswick Farm, and I may actually go over that, as well as my thoughts on what her backstory could have actually been all along. That's something I've really wanted to talk about. So yeah, no, there's potential chance that I could actually make a video on that, and I actually think I will in the near future, so yeah, I think I will make a video on that. But yeah, thank you. Nice question. Very good question. Anyways, so moving forward to the next question. Ashire MGTOW asks, in your opinion, what would you say was the most confusing anime you've ever seen? If I had to say, there are two anime that I've seen, which I really enjoyed, that were confusing, but they were more confusing in a comical aspect, which was Bobobo Bo Bobobo, which I'm sure some of you have probably heard of that series. I love that series, but man, it was confusing sometimes, and I love that though. It's the whole point of its comedy, but I loved it. And then the other one is Maria Holic. I mean, it is a comedy, it's a parody, but it's a fun series. It can be a bit confusing sometimes, but I really do love that series. That one was great also. But the next question from Ashire is, do you think Weiss will finally use her weapon like it's supposed to, or will she just replace it with a wand and move to Hogwarts? Yeah, I would really like to see Weiss actually use Meteor Naster the way it should be, because she used to fence with it. I mean, that was her style, was kind of like a dancing-like style, and also at the same time with her being like a fencer. Because she was supposed to be fencing with Meteor Naster, and that's how she used to fight. I mean, it wasn't just her fighting from long range, she would also fight from close range, but it seems that after Volume 3, that entirely changed, and let's be real, the Battle of Haven, like I said, I can never escape the Battle of Haven. I can never escape bringing it up when it comes to any flaws or issues with RWBY. It always comes back. But that fight in the Battle of Haven with Weiss and Verdal was just awful. And the way that Weiss fought was just atrocious. I mean, I really do like Weiss, but man, they treated her so bad. And I was not a fan of the way they treated her in that fight at all whatsoever. And her not using Meteor Naster the way it should have been used, yeah, I had a problem with that. I mean, she used to be able to dodge enemies. I mean, if you watch the fight with Weiss versus the White Fang Lieutenant, she was dodging him. I mean, and it was awesome. That fight was good for Weiss. But now it's like she's not as agile as she used to be, and she's not fighting the same way she used to anymore. And it's like they've just made her one big support unit, and that's all she really feels like she is now, and it's a shame, because Weiss just doesn't fight the way she used to. But hey, you know, if Weiss went to Hogwarts, I mean, she'd probably make a really good wizard, though, considering her glyphs and everything. She'd probably be a really good wizard in Hogwarts. So, you know what? If you retired from being a Huntress Weiss and that's what happened, yeah, I think you do a good job. Next question from Ashire is, I remember Cinder saying she wanted power in her flashback. Do you think maybe she was abused as a child by those stronger than her? Maybe she was a servant for somebody? I guess that would make sense with Cinderella's story, but worse. Yeah, actually, here are my thoughts on that. So, yeah, I do think that something may have happened to Cinder. I think she may have actually gone through abuse. She may have actually been treated like a servant or nothing more than a peasant to maybe a rich family. Maybe she was an orphan, she was taken in by a rich family, and maybe they just used her as a servant. Maybe they beat her, maybe they put her in situations where she felt like she was powerless, or maybe she was captured by hunters when she was younger. I mean, considering that she wanted to expose Ozpin and the academies and the kingdoms for what they really were, and trying to show what power they had behind the scenes that the citizens didn't know, maybe she was adopted by a family like that. And, you know, for all we know, maybe Cinder was abused in that regard. And maybe she was even a servant girl, who knows. But maybe once she got enough power, she was able to escape, and she found Salem somehow. and that led her to feeling like she could obtain power through Salem and be able to be respected, because maybe she feels like power would help her gain respect. And that's what that's always made me think, because she seems to be insecure as a character. Because if you look at Volume 2, when Roman Torchwick actually would make fun of her as a little gag, just a joke, she seemed to be upset by that because she caught on to what he was doing. But then you look at Volume 4, when Tyrion, Hazel, and Watts were making fun of her, that also seemed to show that she was really upset by that. So maybe Cinder, as a child, was abused. Maybe she was put in situations that made her feel like she was powerless, that made her feel like if she just had the strength to be able to fight back, that maybe she actually could be respected. Maybe she could get out of living in the terrible way that she was living in and have a better life because power could maybe get her there. Maybe that could have been a possibility. And I think you have a very interesting point here. And, I would like to kind of see something in that sort be Cinder's past, because of course somebody wouldn't just want power just because I just want to be powerful. I mean, that would just kind of be a bad reason. Now, if there was something like Cinder went through abuse as a child, yeah, I could totally see that making sense as to why she wanted power and wanted to be respected with power. I get that. That would make a lot more sense. And I think that would be very understandable for a character. And if they worked a really good story involving all of that, then yeah, that would be a really good reason. But if they just decide Cinder wanted power just because she wanted to be powerful, yeah, I'm not going to like that at all. That's going to actually be a really upsetting reason to her backstory and her motivation. I would not be happy if it was just her being all about power. But if they threw in something that she was abused or she was a servant and she wanted to break away from that life and she felt like power would be the way to do it, then yeah, no, that would make a lot more sense and I'd be okay with that. The next question from Ashire is, what kind of ranged weapon do you think would work with Jean? I'm thinking of a crossbow, like the one from the movie Van Helsing, where he can use it like a machine gun. A normal gun would look weird in his hand, and regular bow, maybe a compound bow. I think a crossbow would actually be a really good one, because you said the machine gun idea. So he could actually have it kind of like a crossbow machine gun that could be equipped to either the shield or the sword, which would be cool. Maybe the shield, because like while he could be attacking, he could take the shield down, and on the underbelly of the shield, he could actually have a built-in crossbow, and he could launch it from there. I think that'd be kind of cool. Or maybe it could be equipped to the hilt of the blade, so he could turn the blade around, or it could actually adjust itself to the top towards the sword, and then it can shoot from there maybe. I think that'd be a pretty interesting idea. Ashire then goes on to ask, if there was a Bleach character that would go in a death battle against a RWBY character, who would you like to see and why? I think a Rukia versus Weiss match would be pretty good. I think Rukia would still win. I mean, if you know everything from the anime and then past the anime and you know the manga as well and how powerful Rukia is, yeah, Rukia would win that, but I think it would still be a pretty cool match. I would like to see Hitsugaya fight somebody. I think Hitsugaya would be pretty cool. I wouldn't mind that. I'm not sure who I'd want him to fight, though, but I think that'd be pretty cool to see him fight. Maybe Raven, because Raven has maiden powers, and that's like the closest thing to a godly power in RWBY. I mean, that would be a pretty cool fight between Hitsugaya and Raven. And then also having Kenpachi fight Crow, I think would be really cool. Seeing how Kenpachi would have to deal with Crow's misfortune, and seeing how misfortune may work with or against Crow as well. That would be kind of a cool match to see. Then again, Kenpachi's a brute, so that'd be insane to watch a fight between Crow and Kenpachi, but I think it'd be a pretty awesome fight. So moving on to the next question. Yang's Arm asks, what is your favorite crack ship? Personally, I like Zwei X Another Zwei. So I haven't really watched much of RWBY cracks, but then again, that's also because I don't usually have a lot of time to do very many things, because I'm usually very busy. But, I mean, I could check it out and then tell you what I think. So, but until then, I don't really have one at the time being. But, good question, though. Bone Break Lightsaber Crafter asks, this is a copy-paste of questions I wanted to be in the Q&A, but didn't get noticed in time, so you can use them for the next one. Yeah, I do apologize. I didn't notice it the first time around, so I'm very sorry about that, but I'm answering it right now. So, there you go. So, like I said before, I'll say it again. If I accidentally miss your question, I will most definitely answer it within the next Q&A. So, if it was not answered in this one, it will be answered in the next one, I assure you. I do pay attention to what everybody asked. So, I very well apologize that I did miss this one. How big of a part do you think the fan base is in playing in the destruction of RWBY? Do you think that Rooster Teeth considers Volume 6 to be a big success and is fine with the fan base division? How likely do you think it is that they will try to heal the fan base after this? Also, after all the animator problems and Vic, do you think that Rooster Teeth's time will soon end to their own hubris, or will it survive? Okay, these are some very good questions. So, to look at the first part of your question, how big of a part do you think the fan base is playing in the destruction of RWBY? So, let's look at it like this. First off, I think that there are fans out there that really do care about the series. I do think that there are fans out there that, when they throw out their constructive criticism, because this has some part of it to do with this, whenever they throw constructive criticism out there to try to improve the series, I think it's because they're passionate, and it's because they want to see the series improve. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, I've thrown out my own form of constructive criticism as well, because when I see a flaw, when I see something that is an issue, oh yeah, I'm going to say it. I'm going to sit over here and say, hey, look, there's a problem. This is something that needs to be worked on. And RWBY has had its problems, most definitely. It is not perfect, and by no means will RWBY ever be a perfect series, because there is no such thing as the perfect series. But what I will say is this. RWBY has not done as well within certain areas and at certain times as it has within other areas. And when people try to throw out constructive criticism, there's nothing wrong with that. But I have seen people attack fans that I would not really call them fans. I'd rather call them something like a fanatic, I guess you could say, to where they attack fans because of their constructive criticism. And they act like, oh, well, you can't say this, or, oh, well, you're wrong because you're throwing this out there. And I think that because they have issues with some fans trying to throw out constructive criticism, in which I've seen this before, well, the thing is that there's nothing wrong with constructive criticism. It is there to help you improve, and Miles and Carrie asked for that. They asked for constructive criticism after Volume 3 ended, so they could improve the series. That's what they asked. So fans did that. Volume 4 came around. Volume 4 had its issues. Then fans were like, hey, these are some of the things I had issues with. This is the problem with some of the writing here or some of the animation. Please do your best to fix it in some way or form. And that was not bad. There's nothing wrong with people trying to throw that stuff out there to make sure that it's seen, to make sure it's known. But of course, there are also fanatics out there that just think that RWBY's perfect the way it is, and that there are no flaws. But there are. There are issues here and there that happen. And then they go on to attack people that really do love the series, that really are trying to throw out constructive criticism to make it better. They act like that person, that fan that's trying to throw out criticism to try to improve RWBY is attacking the series instead, and that's not the case. They're just trying to give their opinion on what could be better to try to improve it. So I do think these fanatics can lead to problems. I think that they can really cause problems for the fandom. But at the same time, I've seen many fans, many of you out there that have been really good, that have really thrown out great ideas, that have really tried to give your ideas on how RWBY can be improved. And I gotta say, all of you that I'm talking about are respectful. I mean, a lot of you are really nice about it. You throw out your opinions in great ways, and it's very constructive. It's very interesting, and many of you come up with some of the smartest ideas I've ever seen. Many of you come up with fantastic ideas, and it's crazy. I mean, I really respect that, and I think that's awesome. But moving on to the next part of your question, do you think that Rooster Teeth considers Volume 6 to be a big success and is fine with the fan-base division? Well, considering what Miles said at RTX this year about how he thought Volume 6 went over very well in his opinion, yeah, I don't think that they really care. I don't really think that they care about the division. And that's because it doesn't seem like they listen to the criticism on that one. Not only that, but, you know, looking at some of the things that they've said or thrown out in tweets, yeah, there have been some pretty disrespectful things thrown out there at the fans, and I don't agree with that. And, you know, I really don't like the way they talk to the fans. So, yeah, no, I don't really think that they do care that much about the division. And that may be a really harsh thing for me to say, but, looking at it, it's just kind of more to them like if they can make money from it, then who cares? And I don't think that's right, because that's not how you should look at it. Your fans are people too, and they are customers, and you should be trying to appeal to these fans. And if you want people to be invested in what you're doing, then you will respect them too. So I don't think that they care much for that division when it came to Adam. My other reason for this is because on Twitter, after Chapter 12 of Volume 6, Seeing Red, came out, when Adam had died, Miles and Carrie went on to Twitter, and they praised the death of Adam's character, saying that they were glad that he was dead, and if they even decided to bring him back, it would be a Darth Maul situation. It'd be like Star Wars: The Clone Wars 2008 series, and how they would bring him back that way. But they said they're not going to do it, and that he's dead, so he's gone. And they were happy about it. And, if you thought that Volume 5 was not divisive enough, I mean, as if it didn't divide the fandom enough as it was, Volume 6 definitely did it, for certain, with Adam's death, and then, of course, the tweets that Miles and Carrie were throwing out after that. Yeah, that didn't make things any better. And then RTX with Miles saying that he thought that everything went well with Volume 6. Yeah, I think that shows you that, no, they don't care about the division. I don't think they do. But going on to your next question, how likely do you think it is that they will try to heal the fan base after this? Oh, I'm certain. Oh, yeah. I mean, if they want to keep people around and invested into the series, yeah, they're going to have to do something that's going to make them want to stay. They're going to have to make sure from this point onward that they don't mess things up. They're going to have to probably throw in some fan service just to also be certain that they keep people around. And guess what? Neo's already back, so unless they're going to give Neo more screen time and she's going to start beating people left and right, I think that's one of the moments of fan service that they're going to have to throw out there. But also, they're probably going to throw in more. I mean, I don't know what else they could really do to try to throw in more fan service, but I'm sure they'll have to do something to try to keep people invested if they want people to stay around for their series. So, there's that. So, next part of your question. Also, after all the animator problems in Vic, do you think that Rooster Teeth's time will soon end to their own hubris, or will it survive? That's a good question. So, with the HBO Max situation now, I don't know if some of you know of this. I'm sure some of you do, some of you may not. So, Warner Media owns Otter Media, which owns Rooster Teeth, right? So we already know that Warner Media is trying to make their own streaming service, which is going to be HBO Max. And it's going to have a collective of a lot of the properties that Warner Media owns. And they're going to try to throw that on their streaming platform. And it's also supposed to be in competition with Netflix and Hulu. I wouldn't doubt it, because Crunchyroll already has some of the shows that it shows is going to be on HBO Max. I wouldn't doubt it if eventually, if things keep going downhill for Rooster Teeth, if Rooster Teeth, Crunchyroll, and RWBY all merge into Warner Media's companies. I wouldn't be surprised. And if Rooster Teeth wants to survive, they have to start doing better. They can't be transparent like we've seen and like we've heard and like we know. They have to be straightforward at this point onward. They have to restructure their company. They have to change everything, or else they are going to fall apart. And with the way they've acted and the way they've treated people, yeah, no, they got to start doing better. Otherwise, everything is going to fall apart for them. And Rooster Teeth may not be Rooster Teeth anymore. It may just be a merged company in the future, and it won't be known as Rooster Teeth anymore. So if Rooster Teeth wants to save its skin, they have to start doing better. Because they won't be around much longer if this continues. If this keeps up, this issue keeps happening, no, then I don't think that they will be around much longer. And they have to start doing better. They have to try their best to start doing better and stop doing the things they've done. I mean, the animators, that's horrible. This has been going on for years, though. This is not something recent. The animators have been treated awful for years. And the treatment the animators have been getting is completely unacceptable. They should have been treated way better and with much more respect than the way they were treated. Never should have happened. The Vic situation. Vic should never have been fired. Vic should still be Crow right now. He should never have been fired, and this whole situation should have never happened in the first place. I mean, what else is there to say other than Vic should still be Crow right now? And this whole thing that's going on with Vic should never have happened. But, also looking forward, if you think about it, if Rooster Teeth doesn't restructure, if they don't try to do things better, oh yeah, they'll probably be merged into multiple companies, and they won't be Rooster Teeth anymore. And with everything that's come out lately, it does not look good for them. The animator situation, the whole situation with Vic, this has not helped Rooster Teeth's reputation at all whatsoever. And, you know, Rooster Teeth, they need to get a grip. They need to restructure their company. They need to fire the people that don't need to be in certain positions. They need to hire people that are good for the positions, that need to be in the positions they need to actually be in. And they need to structure it better. And they need to act better towards their fans. I mean, if this keeps up, yeah, no, things are not going to look better for them if they don't make things better, if they don't change things. And, you know, you had great questions here, most definitely, because it's an important issue. It's something that's very serious is going on. And Rooster Teeth is most definitely hurting over their decisions. Their mistakes are coming back to haunt them, and that is the truth. But anyways, as I said at the beginning of the video, I'm going to say it again. If you have any questions for next month's Q&A, leave them down below, and I will answer them for next month. So that'll be something to look forward to. But anyways, I'll be back again on Tuesday with regular content. As always, let me know what you think down below, and let me know any questions that you have for me. But anyways, thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and if you did enjoy, hit the video with a like, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, share this video with your friends if you found this informative or useful, and follow me on Discord. Link is in the description down below. But anyways, I hope you all have yourselves a wonderful and fantastic day today, and remember, if today was not a good day, tomorrow can always be better. Take care of yourselves and everyone around you, and have yourselves a good one out there, everybody.